I'm going to tell this like a real American would, a straight from the gut story about a man who'd been written off, humiliated, and then watched the tide turn. You ever show up somewhere you've been 1,000 times before and feel the ground shift under you? That was Clarence Miles on a hot Thursday in August, rolling up to the Arlington Community Veterans Center in his beat-up silver van. He'd been a Marine decades earlier, but now the wheelchair was his daily ride and the VA check-in was his ritual. He parked under the flagpole engine, ticking wiped his palms on his faded jeans and thought, same old routine. Then the cop showed up. Officer Brock Tanner was the kind of guy who thought his badge made him bulletproof. Big frame, shaved head, black sunglasses, even in the shade. He strutted up, boots loud on the cracked concrete, scanning Clarence from head to toe like he was something on the curb. Think you get priority just because you've got wheels, he sneered, flicking his chin toward the veteran ID Clarence held out. Clarence stayed calm. He'd been under real fire before. I'm here for my appointment, he said, voice raspy but steady. Brock just chuckled, snatched the appointment slip from his hands, glanced at it, then let it flutter to the ground. Pick it up yourself, he muttered. People nearby froze. A young woman with a stroller stopped mid-stride. Phones started to rise. The whole energy changed, that queasy buzz you get when you realize you're watching a line being crossed. Clarence leaned down, his shoulders, stiff with old pain, reached for the paper. The cop tapped his baton against the wheelchair rim. Thunk, 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 like he was keeping time. What's honor worth when you can't even stand? He said loud enough for the crowd. Someone gasped. Clarence straightened, eyes burning. It means I did my part so you could stand there and mock me. For a second, Brock blinked, then barked a laugh. He signaled to a tow truck idling at the corner. Hook that junk van, he ordered. That's my leg, Clarence shot back. That van is my leg. His voice cracked but carried. The tow driver, a gaunt man named Rudy, hesitated, but Brock's stare was a blade at his throat. He dropped the hook anyway, chains clanking on the asphalt like handcuffs closing. Phones filmed comments, streamed, faces tightened. A rookie cop off to the side, Nate Parker shifted on his feet, hand on his belt radio. He'd been on the force less than a year. He muttered, this isn't right. But Brock flicked him a glare, and Nate swallowed his words. Clarence sat in his chair, blood pressure rising, breath shallow. Old memories slammed back, hauling wounded brothers through sand, praying to make it home. He slipped his trembling fingers into his pocket and tapped a code on his phone. 2 characters. H7. Nate saw the screen and went pale. Internal marine distress, he whispered. He knew what that meant, even if Brock didn't. Online, the chat lit up. He's not alone, he's calling someone. Brock leaned in, smirking. You think a couple letters bring soldiers running? This ain't a movie, old man. And then, almost as if to prove the point, he grabbed the push handles of the wheelchair and shoved. Gasps ripped through the crowd. The chair jolted toward the downhill ramp. Traffic hissed below. Clarence's hands clamped the wheel's palms, tearing open as he tried to brake. Let's see if those soldier arms make good brakes, Brock taunted, baton raised in mock salute. Stop, someone yelled. A grandmother stepped forward, reaching for the chair. Brock swung his baton slightly and barked, get back, old lady. She froze. Clarence's wheels screeched, sweat and blood streaking the rims. His heart pounded not from fear but from fury. He thought of the brothers who hadn't made it back. If I survive for anything, it's for this moment. And then from far off came the sound. Boots. Dozens of them. At first a low drum, then a rolling thunder. The crowd turned. Rows of Marine uniforms emerged from between the parked cars, moving like a tide led by a square-shouldered man whose voice cut the air. Soft barricades. No one leaves the scene. Brock's baton slipped from his hand and hit the pavement with a wooden clatter. Clarence looked up, eyes wide but steady. The Marines fanned out, forming a ring. The rookie cop, Nate, exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. The leader knelt to Clarence's level. Gunnery Sergeant Ramirez. We're here, he said, low and steady. Clarence's lips trembled. His hands streaked with blood, but he nodded. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Phones everywhere caught the moment. The live stream spiked. And then Avery Holt, the freelance journalist who'd been filming from the start, got a private message. Screenshots of a group chat called Iron Circle. Officers mocking disabled vets, calling the van garbage with a sticker. She gasped, held her phone up, and streamed it to tens of thousands in real time. "That's who they are," she said on camera. "This isn't one bad apple. This is a whole tree." Comments poured in. "Investigate the department. End the contracts. Justice for Clarence." Nate stepped forward, pulled a tiny card from his body cam, and handed it to Avery like a man handing off a secret. "Everything's on here," he said. His hands shook, but his eyes were clear. Within minutes, Avery was streaming the footage side by side with the group chat. The push, the downhill roll, the baton tapping. It was undeniable. Hashtags exploded across platforms. People started driving to the VA square, honking holding signs. The city tried to tamp it down, calling it under review, but civil rights lawyer Janet Fields rolled in and took the mic. "If they won't indict, we'll sue," she said, voice like a knife through glass. The crowd roared. Through it all, Clarence stayed in his chair, eyes wet but burning. He whispered to no one in particular, "Honor's not something you drag and drop." By the time the Marines tightened the ring and Ramirez declared Brock stripped of his authority right there on the pavement, the crowd had turned from an audience into a jury. Phones held high chants, rolling like surf. Brock looked around at the Marines, at the cameras, at Nate turning his back on him, and he finally saw himself the way everyone else did, a bully with no badge left to hide behind. And yet, even as the chants of justice for Clarence shook the square, you could feel the battle wasn't over. Screenshots were leaking of secret contracts between the police and tow companies codenamed Urban Clearance. People realized this wasn't just one cop in one van. It was a pipeline built on other people's misery. That's where we leave it today. A veteran clawing back his dignity, a rookie cop flipping the script, Marines turning a parking lot into a sanctuary, and a whole city staring at its own reflection. So tell me now that you've heard this was Brock, just one bad apple or a symptom of something bigger. Have you ever seen power abused in plain daylight? Drop your story into the comments. Tell us what justice means to you. And don't forget to share this, because when enough of us hold on, no one gets left behind.